Hey, golfers, some golf seasons are wrapping up and the holiday season is right around the corner. You know what that means? You guessed it. Awkward holiday work parties. Avoid the terrible Yankee swap gifts. Bring a pack of true classic polos. Show up late so you get the last pick and you can take your own gift home just like I do every single year. You get some of the softest polos on the market. Your coworkers think you are a team player, and you can save 25% off plus free shipping using the promo code OTS Golf at trueclassictees.com. Win, win, win. Stay vigilant at those holiday work parties, my friends. Enjoy the episode.
3 shots, 4 par, I just do 2, 1 putt, par 4, birdie, woohoo, new driver, info, replace, M2, par 5, fairway, what you fin do? Think I'll try to get on into, start right, good line, good view, it drew, shooter McGavin, 2 thumbs that's up high and 2 fingers.
Let's do it. Episode 108 on the Screws Podcast. Returning guest. Been a little while, but we got Brycer's here and we got Joshua Haywood from Haywood Golf. How are you doing, Josh?
Life's good, my man. Appreciate you guys having us back, and excited to chat all things golf.
Yeah, it's been we were just talking, Bryce. It's been over a year anyway, a year and a half or so, and I know you guys have a lot of things changing. I'm looking forward to kind of getting into the chat. Bryce is a big gear guy too, so he loves talking gear. So I think this one will be a good one for us for sure. I'm just gonna go ahead. I'm doing something here, Bryce, on for anybody watching over on YouTube. I'm just changing around. I had Bryce on the big screen here, so we're gonna give that space to you, Josh. But I'll back myself up here. But Josh, anybody who maybe didn't listen to the first pod with us or has caught, I know you've done quite a few, and you do a lot of like the IG lives. You guys have a pretty established following now. It's always kind of growing, but maybe let us know a little bit about yourself and kind of how you built the brand, really, how you got into it.
Yeah, for sure. So we're 4.5 years old now. Started in mid 2018, and the short story is just tired of seeing the ever increasing pricing at local retailers. So Golf Town specifically was my come to fruition idea of why are Vokies so expensive? Why do they keep going up in price? They haven't really changed that much. So just went down that rabbit hole for about 6 months to figure out what the process was, how to get into manufacturing, testing. And I'd always been I don't want to say a gearhead because I wasn't a gearhead growing up, but playing competitive golf, knowing how to build golf clubs, knowing what I liked and didn't like about specific clubs. So I've always had a little bit of a passion for that side of things, and then this kind of just pushed me even further. And 4.5 years later, I'm fortunate enough to say I'm still here.
I'm just gonna grab. We got a question or a couple of questions, so I'm gonna grab one of them in case he's listening, because it was somebody that I wasn't familiar with, and it was a really good question.
Sure.
One of the things that Bryce and I have talked about recently, when we've been talking to a lot of kind of pros or people that are kind of in the industry, or like the inflating prices and inflation in general. So a couple of my friends have Haywood wedges, or two of the guys I work with bought the signature irons last year. A friend of mine just bought the CMBM splits the other day. He actually just bought them recently, so I think he just got the heads and he's putting the shafts on. He's a club builder as well, so he's looking forward to getting those. So is it something
Sweet.
that are you guys able to kind of control some of the inflation, or is it just getting to you? Like, do you manufacture them locally, or is it something that is just inevitable? It's going to grow across the board.
I mean, inflation is consistent across all industries. So, that's a great economic question. But what we did last year, I can't remember when we did it last year. I feel like it was 2 years ago, but it could have been last year. As we started to see an increase in price across the board for our manufacturing. So we raised our prices a little bit. And when I say that, it was, I think it was under 7%. So it wasn't a huge increase, but I think like Canadian listeners, I think we were at $7.99. Now we're at $8.25 kind of thing for the signature iron. So it wasn't a huge jump, but it was enough where we were just like, we're going to increase it a little. Because we purchased so much inventory over the past year and a half, always just making sure that we have enough, like knock on wood, but we haven't run out of inventory because of our, aggressive ordering. So, prices could raise in the next 12 to 18 months, but again, we're not going to, jump them up 20% or so. We just, constantly trying to make sure that we can provide affordable pricing for people. And, if that means that we take a few percent hit ourselves, then we're going to probably do that. But it's, seeing the jump this year from some of the drivers where they went from like $6.99 to $7.99 Canadian was like, that's a lot. That was the first time I think I've seen drivers that high. So, we're definitely trying to stay in our lane in terms of price points.
Yeah, I'm glad you say that too, because that's kind of exactly what you guys are trying to do as a company, right? Is try to keep that cost down while still being efficient. And
Yep.
I think you're hitting the nail on the head. And as long as you guys continue to do that and continue to follow what you're I don't know what the word is, but what you're going for, I guess,
Yep.
is fantastic. I think that's great.
Almost
Thank
like
you,
the
yeah.
Almost like the motto, I guess, or like what you're.
Yeah, I guess that's mission statement,
mission
maybe.
statement,
Is that a good word?
Because you guys started with, I kind of strayed away from the question a little bit, but it's from J Gotti 15, J underscore Gotti 15. I don't know if you'd recognize that one. Any plans for revisions or updates to the CBMB line, for 2023? So I figured we'll kind of like get to that at some point as we go through.
Yeah.
But you guys started with the wedges and signature irons. That's what first came out?
Yeah, so we had a line of non-conforming wedges, and
I
for those
had one of those. Bryce, or seen it? Yeah, I have one of those.
yeah,
It's pretty sweet.
Excuse me. Non-conforming was something unique and different at the time. Still is if you can find them, but those sold out very fast. People just really like the looks of them. They like the fact that they could spin the ball from anywhere, and then over time, as we kind of started growing and getting more feedback from customers, because obviously, as a growing brand, feedback is so vital to us, and we take everything into account, and we listen to everybody's thoughts and make decisions based off of those. And more people than not were like, we need conforming wedges because they want to have the integrity of the game. They're playing in tournaments, whatever the case may be. They don't want to get called out by their buddies being like, oh, you got an illegal club, or whatever the case is. So we switched everything up and made everything conforming now, but we still get a ton of requests for like, hey, can I get a non-conforming wedge? So
Really, eh?
maybe one day we'll bring back a limited run or something like that. But for now, we started with those wedges. They sold very quickly and very well for a new brand. And then probably about a year into that, we decided to kind of dive into the iron game. And so those were our signature irons, which we still have today. So they're about 3 years old now. We're slowly reworking them. We'll probably have a new line of them, within the next 12 months, but they're just so solid and consistent. And, there really haven't been a significant amount of improvements yet. What we're probably going to do is change up some of the materials, the offset, maybe even, foam fill, stuff like that. So we're kind of playing with some ideas, but it has to be a change in performance, at least somewhat. But a lot of these brands nowadays are, releasing these clubs every year because that's been their cycle. And really there's no increase in performance, just increase in marketing and price and all of those kind of things. So, to answer the question you asked before about like our new CBMB line. So we're not going to be flipping lines every like year or two. It's the CBs and MBs are awesome clubs in my opinion. They're going to be around for a few years. We're not going to just make a new line of CBMBs just because, until we can say, hey, we're going to like really change it up, or we're going to find some better performance, or whatever that case is, because, our clubs are very clean from an aesthetic side. They're meant to be timeless. And I think what happens to a lot of brands in the golf space, especially in clubs, they design a club with a certain color palette, certain type of feel for that year, and then like a year or two it's kind of like out of style, or it's not considered cool anymore. We don't really have that. So that's one of the other things that we really like about having minimal aesthetics, is just like you could look like you bought it 10 years ago, it could look like you bought it yesterday.
Right.
And that's kind of where we're going. And again, we just don't want to make products just for the sake of it. We want to make products because we can make them a bit better.
Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I mean, it's one of the oldest sayings in the book.
Yeah. Well, we get that comment a lot, to be honest, is like people who bought the line of wedges that we have right now, like 2.5 years ago, they come back and buy a new set and they're like, so glad that you guys still have that because I love them. I don't need to change them up. I just wanted a new set for some fresh grooves. And so we hear that more often than we hear, when are you going to have a new line of wedges out?
Yeah,
And
well,
so,
golf's also such a game where if people find what they like, I mean, they'll stick to it for a while.
for sure,
I
yeah.
know everyone's different, but I feel like golf is one of the main sports where guys will use old equipment because they like it and they're so used to it, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. No,
Jo-
definitely.
Josh, was there any brand that you like you grew up playing that you really liked, and that because there's like a minimalist movement almost in golf. I feel like there's like
Yeah.
a lot of guys playing less than 14 now. There's like, Sunday bags. A lot of people are trying to like, play mixed or half sets and stuff like that. And then there's also like the old classic like Titleist blades, like Shrixon irons, stuff like that, that are kind of like
Yep.
timeless mirrors, stuff like that. Was there anything that you grew up playing that kind of lent your eye the way that the like towards the Haywood brand? Because it is like super clean. That is like aesthetically one of the most
mhm.
pleasing irons or brands on the market, right?
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, Ben Hogan.
Yeah, I can see that.
um,
Yeah.
my first, I played hand-me-down clubs from 10 to 13, and then I was, my dad was kind enough to give me I can't remember how much it was. It was like 450 or $500. And a pro I knew at the golf course I had a junior membership at was, sponsored by Ben Hogan at the time, and had a set that he used for like, 2 rounds and just didn't like. And so I bought those off of him, and I had those until like I still have them actually, but I didn't I stopped playing them probably when I was like 20, 25. So I had them for a good 12 years. And I always just really liked the way that they looked in my bag. There wasn't a ton of, it was kind of around the time when like the TaylorMade burner was coming out,
Mhm.
the fat shafts, all of these just like different models with like crazy color combos and different designs. And I just like the fact of how they always were just a constant. And Ben Hogan irons, like from a design standpoint and an aesthetic standpoint, didn't really change over the last like 20 years. So that's kind of where that is. And then obviously one of my favorite blades of all time were the Titleists.
Mhm.
Seeing those, you're like, ooh, you saw a Titleist blade, you're like, that's a sick club. So
Mhm.
we kind of got inspiration from those two sides of things. And then wedges, I didn't really have any inspiration for the wedges. It was just more to match the irons of like, hey, super clean irons, super clean wedges, like let's just make them sit in the bag and look similar to each other.
Yeah, cause I got the wedges in the bag. Bryce would have seen mine, and like
Mhm.
I got the 48 raw, and it's like for me, it's I don't know, it's like one of the coolest looking clubs. I love it, and like
Thanks.
they're obviously like really clean, and you guys have like the black. You are now doing the Canadian nitride, right? You're away from the PVD.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a company in Vancouver called Blacked Out Golf. It's run by a guy named Graydon. And so him and I ended up chatting on Instagram one day, and he was working for this company who does, finishing. And he's like, hey, I have a really cool process, and you have raw wedges and would love to try some. And I was like, yeah, sure, no problem. So we got him to do a bunch. And honestly, it's like the longest lasting black finish you'll find. Like I was honestly shocked. Black fades so fast. It doesn't matter where you get it from. Our irons too, same thing. As like I tell everybody, it wears on the sole and face within a
Right.
first few rounds because
Mhm.
it's a coating. It's not a ingrained steel color. And so the Canadian nitride process is cool because it like heats the club up crazy hot, and then it ingrains into the steel. So, I could show you afterwards, but like I have a wedge that I've been using for the last year and a half, during testing and everything, and you can still barely tell that I've used it other than all the nicks. So, super cool.
Well, I had the black PVD wedges, and I really liked that. Like, I kind of liked the way, like, over time, like, it would fade in, and it
Mm-hmm.
almost became like silver on the sole, and then it would kind of fade up and look really cool. Like, I like that.
Yeah.
I like the look of them a lot. But I guess kind of what I was thinking too is you have, a couple different options, not a lot of colors and stuff. And we know a lot of big brands, like you say, come out with a lot of different colors and different palettes and whatnot that they can do.
Yep.
But you do like a lot of custom. Like I know I've been on some of the auctions, and like there's copper wedges and there's tie-dye wedges and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
what was like the idea or the thought behind those? Was it somebody specifically looking to do something custom, or do you kind of do those at request if somebody like places an order with you for them?
Yeah, to be honest, it kind of just started with wanting to, it sounds so cliche, but just wanting to do like cool shit that other people weren't doing.
Mm-hmm.
And the beauty with raw clubs is that you can do so much with them. So, um, our first real dive into it was when we launched a set of our signature irons with 24 karat gold. And so, we did like 30 sets of those and sold them all. And, they're a pretty high price point, and but they were like insane.
Yeah.
And so from there, that was kind of like our first test into it. That was kind of inspired by my stepdad, because he's always been into gold mining and all that kind of stuff. And so we were like, yeah, it'd be super cool to have a gold golf club. And so we did that, and then all of a sudden it was like, wow, we could do it with copper, and we could do it with black nitride, and we could do it with Cerakote. And so we created pink wedges and yellow wedges, and just kind of started making shit that nobody else was doing. And then when people see that, they're like, yeah, that's awesome. I want to do this for my wife, or this
Mm-hmm.
for my son or my daughter. And so then we started getting a lot of like custom requests for it. And so it's not a huge part of our business, but it's definitely something that kind of keeps us fresh. And somebody asks us if we can do something, we'll be pretty straight up and say, hey, we could probably do it, or no, we can't. And it's expensive to customize stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
We source and find the best partners locally in Canada, so it's not like we're sending them to China to get coated and then they wear off once. But yeah, so it's been a fun process, and the customization stuff is just kind of cool to
Yeah,
do.
you can't beat these in my opinion. If
Those were
you're
the one.
watching
Yeah, those were the
YouTube,
ones I
you'll
was thinking.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can't beat that. I think these are amazing. Like you
The
said,
copper.
there's not many people doing it, if any.
Yeah.
And it's just such a cool, different look. In my opinion, you can't beat it. I love those things. Look amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, no, that was actually something where so a guy named Chris, who runs Razor Golf in Vancouver, he's who we actually started with. He's awesome, one of my good friends now, and he was building all of our clubs for us when we started. And he has his own shop in his house, and that's kind of where we started out. And he does a lot of customization stuff and some really cool like laser engraving now that he's into it. And he did those wedges particularly, and it was just kind of like one of those things where it was hey, we copper plated something. Cool. What happens if you add heat to it? I don't know. Let's find out. And just like got a torch, and he started torching them. And I was like, I don't care. Screw up a wedge, see what happens. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, that's what happens. Okay. Well,
Yeah,
let's take some photos of that. That's cool.
just kind of experimental stuff.
Yeah. And we do that a lot. Like I'll even show you a wedge here. So my shop guy, Steve, this was a copper wedge. And this is a prime example. Is like, he has never done it before. I was like, hey, take a copper wedge, like stamp it, have fun with it. It's yours, whatever. And he like torched it too long. And so like it started to like fade completely off. And so you can see like these dark patches where the copper has been like completely stripped, but it looks sick.
Yeah.
And
I
so
love
like
that.
a lot of it is just like trial and error and getting lucky and playing around with it.
We're an audio based podcast, but we do put this up on YouTube, and we're terrible for telling people to go watch that. So if we forget all the time. So if you're listening to us right now, go over and watch it on YouTube, and you can see what Josh is talking about. And of course, the link for Haywood Golf will be in the page below, so you can go over and check out the wedges that Bryce is talking about. Because Bryce, that was one of the first things that we had got talking about. I don't know if I had the wedges in my bag at the time when you had sent me those, and we were like both kind of like, holy shit, those are cool. Like it was.
No, you definitely would have, because it was August 3rd last year. I'm pretty sure you had them.
Yeah, I would have had them in by then, but they were pretty cool. Make me want to trade them in already, probably was it. But I know we've had I follow the Razor I can't remember. I think it's like Razor CS or something like that on Instagram.
Yep.
Yeah, so
Yeah, that's Chris.
he did work for a friend of ours,
Okay.
Ziggy. You know Ziggy from out there, Ziggy Nathu?
I do actually, yeah.
Yeah. So I know he had done a little bit of work on his putter. I've carried when Ziggy comes out this way, I've carried the bag for him a couple times. So it's pretty cool. Small world, golf world is pretty small, but it's cool, and he does a lot of really, really good work. So, little plug for him. Anybody in the area, definitely go check that out.
Yeah,
Can we talk a little bit about the lineup? I know we've talked about the signature irons, a little bit
sure.
about the wedges and stuff, but can you kind of maybe run through the lineup top to bottom, what you currently have? I know there's a lot of changes, so we definitely want to pick your brain on those a little bit too. But
Yeah, they're coming.
yeah, maybe just the current what you have in the lineup so far.
Yeah, so we have a standard blade putter. Think of a Scotty Cameron ping answer. So we have that in silver and black. We have our wedges every 2 degrees from 48 to 60 and black, raw, and silver. We have our signature irons, which are, game improvement / distance. So most forgiveness possible out of our iron sets. And those come in silver and black. And then we have our new, so like 2022, we launched this year, our new cavity back, muscle back lineup. So those only come in the fog silver right now, but you can combo that set, which is super nice. And then we have our signature driving iron, which is a rocket and a beast off the tee. It's one of my favorite clubs in my bag. And we do silver primarily, and then we do limited runs of the copper. So we sold out of that super fast. We had like 200 of them, and I think they were gone within like, I don't know, I want to say like 2 or 3 weeks.
Wow.
Nice. And then they're coming back. I think we have a shipment of them coming in next week. So we'll be back up on the site, and we only have 100 of them. So yeah, it'll be fun. And that's pretty much our lineup now. But yeah, we have a few things coming down the pipeline here.
Well, and every once in a while too, Joshua, I know you and Haley, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So you guys will do you guys will do an auction, and they're a lot of fun. There's usually like a lefty one on there, a copper lefty one that pops up, or something that you found buried in the back of the shop, and it's kind of like an absolute unicorn, and it just kind of goes nuts. So it's hard to keep up with those too. They're pretty aggressive auctions.
What about these Haywood 100s?
Yeah, so
those are pretty.
They're super pretty. We did a limited run of those sets. I think we had 50 sets total. They sold out. We have a list of about, I don't know, 65 to 70 people. Our goal is 75 people on a list, and then we're going to do another production run. So 5 more people, give or take. And then we're going to actually do those. Those are going to be fully custom. So they're going to pay for them in advance. They're going to tell us exactly what they want. So shaft, grip, everything, details, what finish they want, all of those. And then we're going to custom order all of them based on that. And then, once we get all the heads in, ship them out to go get copper plated, go get them black nitride, whatever the case is. So it's a bit of a process logistically, but it's going to be kind of cool. And the demand is there for them. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I don't know if that's what we're going for, but that's that reminds me of a Ben Hogan blade right there.
It's a little harder to hit than the Ben Hogan blade.
It's a good looking club.
You that was like you had posted like a video of those. They come in like the block, and that was like kind of completely milled out, right? Was that the Haywood 100s?
Yeah, so there's only one other company that we know of that does it, called 7 Golf out of Japan.
Okay.
And so these aren't forged. It's a forged block, so steel forged into a specific amount of shape and weight, but it's not forged into shape of a golf club. And so what it is it's just a full block of forged steel, and then it goes into it goes into a CNC machine. It spends like just over 200 minutes per club getting CNC milled. So it's a process. It was, I remember talking to one of our manufacturers, and one of them was like, we're not doing that. And I was like, okay. And so I talked to the other one, and they're like, are you kidding? Like, nobody does this. I'm like, I know, but I want to do it. And they're like, well, the price is this. And I'm like, yeah, it's high, I know. And they're like, okay, well, let us know. And we did it. So pretty cool.
So the 50, they went pretty quick. They were all right. Like the 50 had sold out like right away.
Yeah, they sold pretty fast. And I say that like, they're a higher price point.
Right.
And so for a brand like ours that is known for being more affordable, a lot of people kind of, raise their eyebrows and gave us that kind of lifted eye look of like, okay, what, why is this and what are these? And but the people that read the information that we provide, see the videos, and are like true gearheads, they understand that it's like a super unique set. Like there's not going to ever be many. It's not like there's going to be 100,000 of them in the world. We're doing small batches at a time. And so It's kind of more of like it's a very unique club to have. Chances are nobody that you know will have that set of clubs probably ever.
Mhm.
And I think that that's part of the reason why a lot of people are just like, this is super cool. And like, hey, I can get this club for almost this, like it's a little bit more, but almost the same price as like a brand new set of Titleist blades or CBs or whatever. So like, would you rather go with something super unique and cool, or just like something off the shelf normal? And you know, the price point is really not that much different, but it's just a lot higher than where we are normally.
Yeah, I guess a lot of those people too also don't really realize what goes into making this, like you kind of touched on a minute ago there. That's a lot of time on a CNC machine, and it's not
Yeah.
cheap to run one of those. So
Yeah.
I know that personally, and I think a lot of people overlook that kind of behind the scenes stuff that has to go on to get that product. So I think that those are the kind of people that are kind of raising their eyebrows that don't really look deeply into the manufacturing.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't know about it, it's hard to understand and justify. But if you kind of read and learn, you realize that they're not manufactured the same way at all.
Mm-hmm.
Takes way more time. And yeah, it's just a very unique process, which is why we don't do it very often. It's not like we're making hundreds of sets of them. So yeah,
I'm gonna ask a question for a friend of ours, Brian Connor.
sure.
He's been kind of one of our OG listeners. So Bryce and I both know Brian from kind of checking out the pod.
Mm-hmm.
June 27th, I was just going back to the DM really quick here. So June 27th, he had a post on a new putter prototype. So I roll a Del Mar right now.
Yep.
And this one was, it's like kind of the half moon shape or like the heel hosel type.
Yep.
Has anything come of that? Because I know he was saying like when this comes out, he had just gotten a new putter, and when he was saying when it comes out, he wants to get one instantly or kind of get on the list
Yeah.
to get one. So I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'm gonna ask the question for him if he's listening. I
Yeah.
know he'll probably appreciate this one coming up. But anything in the works with that one?
It's already in production. So
Okay.
I would say it's gonna be ready by December, but I can't guarantee that. So I'll say January.
Man, that is so
It'll be up
nice
on our
too.
Coming
site.
up. It's close.
We have it's super cool actually. We have 3 different sight lines for it. So we're gonna offer it with 3 different sight lines for, you know, we did a bunch of, again, Instagram testing in terms of asking our audience and our followers what they wanted. So many people were like, oh, I really want the circle dot. So many people said, oh, I really want the single line at the top of the club, like on the face side of it.
Mhm.
And then some people just wanted it on the back side. And so we did all 3 of them. And so
Nice.
there's not like massive quantities of each. But I think we did probably, I can't remember if it was 100 of each in right and then like 50 of each in left or something. So nothing too crazy. We kind of wanted to keep it smaller at first to see how they sell, but it's pretty cool to be able to buy a, you know, version. It's a version of a Del Mar.
Yeah.
That is, you know, much lower in price, and that you can have 3 different sightline options to choose from. So not many companies are offering that, and that's again why we decided to say, hey, let's do something different and cool, and you know, give the people what they want.
Save
That's
me a
great.
lefty.
It's we got the lefties.
Save me.
You know,
Yeah, I gotta lay claim to one of those. So there's 49 remaining for anybody
nice.
listening. But yeah, those are pretty sweet. Like that definitely fits my eye line. I've kind of
Yeah.
I've moved up like right through the Odyssey #9.
Mhm.
Del Mar tried to go low a little bit too big for me, but like yeah, I've been rolling the Del
You
Mar
got the
for years now.
Toulon that's similar, not
Yeah, the Toulon
identical, but
Atlanta,
similar.
a little bit similar. So anything kind of with that half moon shape has been something that I've really liked. I like it kind of entering from the heel. Like I like to, I guess, kind of stand over it a little bit. I roll it pretty well, so I try not to
Mhm.
change that too much because that is like the savior of my game. So
Yeah.
when things are going bad, I can usually roll it okay. So I definitely like the looks of that. It's beautiful, man. That's a really good looking putter. Will you offer it with no sight line at all as well?
So we didn't do the no sightline one. There might be like, I can't remember, 10 or 15 that we might
Yeah.
have. But to be honest, it was one of those things where just in terms of the feedback, it was like only like really high level players wanted it. And so
Hey,
we
thank
might,
you.
yeah, it was also one of those things that during our testing process,
Yeah.
it screwed a lot of people up. So we saw a significant decrease in their performance without a sight line.
Oh,
And so I
really?
don't know if it was a visual thing. I don't know if it was just them being so used to always having a sight line and then not having anything. So maybe like you just didn't feel as comfortable. I don't know. But again, that's why I say for high level player, because, you know, through our mid and higher handicaps that we're testing them, we didn't see them have, you know, over great success just simply for that fact. And that was the only thing. They were like, the putter feels great, it's awesome, but I just don't like not having a sight line.
I could see that too. Yeah, it's probably a most putters probably do have it. Like I don't know that I've ever really had it, but the single dot's pretty clean too. I like that too. The look of that's pretty sweet.
And I think it's it's more of it's not going to mean that your performance is going to get worse. It's the same exact putter. It's just everybody's so visual for golf. Like we all know, it's like you stand behind a golf club that you like the look of, you're going to play better naturally just because of that. And so that's where like the single dot, it's like super clean, minimal. It's almost like having no sight line, in my opinion. Like I have a dot in my bag and I don't even notice that it's there. Like it's just super small and cool. So yeah, those are come. Hopefully we'll have them on the site by January.
I like it. Well, we're just going to jump in with a quick break with our friends over at BETSTAMP, and then we'll be right back. We want to talk about a little bit of the future lineup, some of the future releases that you've got. We want to know what's in Josh's bag. That was another question that we got, and then we'll kind of wrap things up, but we'll be right back. All right, solo rip here for Mac Bogey Bets, presented by BETSTAMP. We're missing Bryce this week. He has dumped his whole bankroll betting on the dogs, so it's just you and I for this one. Bogey Bets, presented by our friends over at BETSTAMP. Download the BETSTAMP app, use the promo code OTS Golf, and any of the top sports books that you sign up for, they'll refund your minimum deposit. And you can shop all the best lines across all the best sports betting platforms. We're down at the Joburg Open this week. Really scraping at one with no PGA Tour event this week. We're taking Christian Bezendenhout outright. Hopefully somebody can pronounce that one a little bit better than me, but plus 700, strongest player in the field. Currently in the OWGR official world golf rankings, he is number 74. He's been as high as I think 30th or something. He looks great in a pair of joggers too. So we're taking him with the outright plus 700. We found that over at BetMGM. Everyone had him actually quite a bit lower too. So he is the massive favorite here at the Joburg Open. Next one we're going to take for our top 10, Oliver Becker, currently number 113 in the world. Oliver Becker at plus 325 again on BetMGM. Most places had him around plus 250 to finish in the top 10. We found him at BetMGM using the BetStamp app for plus 325. Heading down to FanDuel, we picked up Thurston Lawrence. With a name like that, he's going to thirst on the field. I don't know. I had nothing else for the intro to that one, but currently number 90 in the world. Thurston Lawrence, first round leader, plus 2,700. We think there's some value there, so drop a couple of bucks on that one. As usual, bet responsibly. Head over to the BetStamp app using the promo code OTS Golf. You'll get all of your minimum deposits refunded, and you'll be able to shop all the best lines against all the best sports betting platforms. It'll do all the work for you. Enjoy.
So we kind of already briefly touched on some future stuff, but maybe want to go in a little deeper with some future releases coming up.
Yeah, no, we're super excited. So we have a line of woods coming. So this is a big venture for us. There's one other direct consumer brand that has a whole line of woods. They've had them for the last couple of years. They're a very different company than us. And, not knocking them at all. They sell a lot of golf clubs. They're very, good from what I hear. And, but this process for us is very intertwined into what we believe in terms of doing a lot of R&D, a lot of testing, not just putting stuff out because, we need to put stuff out. I was looking through my posts and my photos the other day, and I saw an image of a post a year and a half ago. It was like, hey, check out this driver that we're creating or that we started to work on. And then I looked at my photo and it was 6 months before that. So this has been 2 years in the making. And so for us, this line of woods is kind of the next evolution of Haywood Golf. And so we're going to be releasing a 9-degree driver, a 15-degree 3-wood, and a 22-degree hybrid. All of them will have adjustable sleeves on them, so they can go 1.5 degrees either way. And then they also have the adjustability to go up a degree. So that's gonna be our main focus for the next 6 months. We just went down, for all of those who are listening and follow us, they would know. But if you haven't followed us, and you go to our page, you'll see that we did some robotic testing a few weeks ago down in San Diego. And so we bought hurt my soul to do this, really, but we bought all the new Stealth lineup. We bought the new TSR lineup from Titleist, and then a TSI hybrid. We put all the same shafts, same length, same grips, everything, and then put everything down into the robot at the exact same swing speed, attack angle, all of those kind of factors. And so what it does is it eliminates any bias that player testing has. And there's nothing wrong with player testing. You have to do it to see what people think and feel and sound and all those kind of things. But the robot to us is the neutral party that says this club does this based on this.
Yeah, you're testing the bare bones of just the head.
Exactly, yeah. And so for us, seeing the performance levels of our woods versus the top tier brands that have apparently spent hundreds of millions of dollars on R&D is amazing. And the fact, we'll share all the details soon enough publicly, but we did very, very well. And from a performance standpoint, on one of the launch monitors, we were ahead by 1.5%. On one of the other launch monitors, we were behind by 0.5% to 1%, depending on the club and strike. When you average it all out, we were all within like a yard of each other.
Okay.
I mean, that's amazing to hear, because this is a whole new ball game for you guys. I mean, irons to woods is night and day. It's a completely different material, completely different ball flights, distances. I mean, it's pretty impressive you guys are getting that close.
Thank you. Yeah, it was very validating to see that the last couple of years was worth it. It would be the worst thing in the world to do all of this work for the last couple of years and then find out you're 20 yards behind. But all of our player testing that we did that led up to this was like, okay, this is feedback that we're getting. These are some of the changes we need to make, some of the weighting, how to improve the sound. And then finally at a point where we were like, okay, these are ready for the robot. Let's see where they're at. And it's one of those things where people won't believe it until they see it. But for us to be toe to toe, literally within like a yard, and again, sometimes ours won. So it's one of those things where I think it'll be a great next step for our business. It's just a matter of how the market responds, and hopefully people like the way that the driver and 3-wood and hybrid look. They all have the same look to them, so they're meant to match exactly the same way through. In my opinion, they sound amazing, they feel amazing. One of the biggest factors that we took into that account was in terms of the design, was the sound and feel, because Ping, for example, the G425 was an amazing driver performance wise, but it sounded like a shotgun. And for me, like it was too loud. And so it's like, how do we have a driver that performs like a TSR, Stealth, Ping, whatever, but sounds almost like an iron? And so that was our whole goal, was to bring that decibel level down, and we knock on wood managed to do it.
All right, sorry, Josh. I wrote down a few questions here because I was just watching that video, so hopefully you don't mind. I didn't want to cut you off as you were kind of going through there, but the outdoor testing, was there any reason why you chose the outdoor testing in San Diego specifically? Is that where a lot of the clubs are tested?
So I found this out, there's only 50 robots that can swing a golf club in the world. They're all manufactured by Gene Parente, who owns Golf Laboratories. So like all the big manufacturers have their own robots. And then there's a bunch of different, like the RNA has a few for testing over in England. And so Gene is the only person that you can hire, that I know of anyway, that you can hire and spend time on a machine like this doing that. So he has his facility down in San Diego. And so that's why we chose that, because there's, that's where you go. And
cool.
He still works with all the big brands and helps design their machines. And still does testing for them and everything. So the fact that we're able to, you know, use the same person who designs the machines and who does a lot of testing for them is great.
Okay, second question. The adjustability. So was that always something that you, because I assume that, I guess I shouldn't assume, but as you're like building a club, you guys wouldn't have anything with any adjustability yet. So would that be, that would be a completely foreign, I guess, idea to you? Like obviously as a golfer, you would know about it a little bit, but is that something that you ever thought about like kind of foregoing to get out like your first line of woods, or was it always kind of a no-brainer? You had to get that worked in?
Yeah, I wasn't going to release a non-adjustable wood. Multiple reasons for that, but again, I'm not, you know, that's why it took us 2 years. I'm not straying away from the complexities and the hard work of what goes into designing and manufacturing. It's how do we make this the best possible club? Because it might be a club that stays in our rotation for 3 or 4 years, because unless we can find, you know, significant improvements in the next few years, like I'm good with it because of the way that the work that went into it, the design of it, the performance of it. Like I'll be shocked if we can create something better in the next 2 or 3 years.
Right. Okay.
So to me, the adjustability factor is just kind of like a requirement.
Yeah.
And the reason for it, to more specifically for us, is because we're a smaller brand. Every time you have to create tooling, it costs X of thousands of dollars. And so it allows us to kind of, you know, have people select, oh, like it's a 9 degree, cool, I can drop it down to 7.5, I can put it up to 10.5. You know, obviously a little bit changes with the face angle and draw and fade biases because of that, but it's not significant enough for a lot of people. And so that's why we did it, because it allows us to give a wider range of options as well for our customers, where they can say, cool, I can pop this up 1.5 degrees, I can drop it 1.5 degrees. So then it fits into more bags versus somebody saying, oh, I only play a 10.5 degree driver, I'm not going to buy this.
Right.
Or 15 degree 3 wood, oh, I actually like 16.5 or 16 and I can get it closer. And so the adjustability factor is very important to us, especially in the woods.
Well, I think that's something, sorry, Bryce, I think that's something that we've all been like, we've become accustomed to, right? With all the ability to change things, right? So I guess what I was thinking is like adding that adjustable piece, is that cheaper than, say, you know, setting up a 3 wood that's a 15 degree, 16.5, whatever it is, and doing like multiple options? Would it be cheaper for you as an owner to build in that adjustable mount?
I don't, that's a good question. I mean, we didn't base it just off of the cost, but I mean, it's the same process. You're doing the tooling. The only difference is like figuring out how many degrees of adjustability you want, what, you know, loft sleeve you're going to use, all those kind of things. So it's the same cost to produce the tooling. So you actually get more bang for your buck, I guess, with an adjustable versus like just a straight in, you know, 15, 16, 5, 17, whatever the case is.
Right.
I just want to add on to you a bit there, Mac, too. I think we have, well, most people, I'd say a high percentage of golfers have just become so accustomed to it in the driver and the 3 wood. I think guys are starting to want that more than a fixed head, just because they have that option to kind of play around with it. They, for 1 week, aren't hitting their driver great, and they can kind of fine tune it and maybe find a new setting they like a little better. I think guys want that now, and because they're so accustomed to it, I don't think they're gonna be very interested in those fixed heads. I mean, me personally, I would never go back to it now. So I'm sure there's a lot more golfers out there that kind of think the same.
Well, that was a big surprise to me, because honestly, like until I bought the Stealth 3 wood and hybrid, I didn't think about it, but they don't have adjustable heads.
No,
and so you're like, it's a very interesting concept how, you know, some big brands like Titleists are all adjustable. TaylorMades are only this model of the Stealth, from what I see anyway, is only adjustable in the driver. And so it's just interesting how different companies select different things, but we're all about providing as many options as possible. So
yeah, I think they've got man, get that off here. We got Haywood on here. Get that off the screen. Come on. Get that out of here, Bryce.
We don't have wood
just
yet.
Showing
so.
that,
now I got to go in.
Showing that Haywood would have that adjustability, and that's another level they get.
Well, yeah,
check mark.
And that's the thing, because like I know, I think TaylorMade has like a 15, 16, 5, and then like the high launch or whatever. That was kind of like the series that they had set out. So that's kind of what made me form that question. Maybe not so much based on the drivers. I think most of them are all adjustable now. I can't think of any that aren't, but it was more or less the fairway woods or hybrids, etc. Right? So
that's that plus 1.1% he's got on TaylorMade on the Stealth. He's got the adjustability.
Exactly. Are they, Josh? Are they all? I guess from your standpoint, are they all conforming before you take them to testing? Is there a way that like you have to send them into the USGA?
We send them into the RNA.
Okay, right.
And the reason that we do that is because the RNA is global. USGA is solely the United States. And because we sell globally, we want to have it approved for all
all competition,
all jurisdictions across the world,
of course,
all countries across the world. And two, what happens is when you submit it to the RNA and they approve it, it automatically gets put onto the USGA website anyway. So so what we do is again, we work with manufacturers that build all of the big OEM products as well. And so they're very familiar with what's going to pass, what's not. In terms of drivers, that's obviously the harder one to make sure, because you have to do a CT test and make sure it's within a certain parameter. And so you can actually perform those tests with a machine yourself. That's the same process that the RNA does. So throughout the manufacturing process, you build it, you test them, they're within the the certain parameters. Awesome. That's how, and then not only that, but like how do you max out the parameters? That's what you're trying to do, is like
get the most out of it.
Get to the most out of that driver. And so I think we did a very good job at that, making sure that we're getting the most that we possibly can out of the woods that we've created.
Nice. Okay, last question. What were the numbers? I wrote LOL beside that. I know I'm not getting that answer, but we'll try. But we're definitely going to be curious to kind of see how they kind of stacked up, and that's cool. Like obviously buying some other brands and stuff like that would hurt, but it's got to be. As,
I mean, you got to do it
as an owner, though.
For
like
efficient testing, I feel like you got to do it.
Of course, but like stacking up your clubs and seeing them do well, and even beating them, like would be, I don't know, that'd be so fulfilling, right? Like,
were you intimidated? Sorry, Mac, I didn't mean to cut you off, but were you intimidated at all before you, like when you bought those heads and you were getting ready to start this testing? Were you a little bit intimidated on the inside, or were you pretty confident that you made a pretty solid product that could contend?
Both.
Yeah, that's fair.
I wasn't like when we were, so what we did is like we took all of the clubs that we bought, stripped them down, obviously made sure we had the exact same shafts, ferrules, everything from weighting and length and all of that kind of stuff. And so that process to me was fine. I was like, oh, like the TSR looks super cool. I tested both of them actually myself before all of the woods before I bought them, because I was debating between Ping and Titleist and TaylorMade. And so I tested them all and I'm like, yeah, they perform the same. Like I'm seeing no difference in my performance. But once you get down to the robot and you put your stuff on for the first time before the first swing, you're like, oh shit, I hope this works.
Yeah.
And then when you see I saw the first ball flight. We started with hybrids, and you saw the first ball flight.
You're kind of like, all of a
sudden you're like,
that looks good.
Like we're legit. And then you see the first flight of the 3-wood, and you're like, yep, that looks good too. And then the driver, and you're like, yep. And then you're seeing the numbers, and then all of a sudden all that confidence comes into you before he leaves. But yeah, definitely it was a little nerve-wracking for the first 20 minutes on site of the robot, and hoping that we matched up. So
really cool,
man. What a feeling that would be. If you're still with us, we're in conversation with Joshua Haywood Golf owner and founder. Can we go through your bag, Josh? That was a question that we got over on Instagram as well.
I love our viewers jumping on my bandwagon every year.
I thought that'd be a pretty neat question to go through as well.
Yeah. Well, everything in my bag is now under our brand. So up until, a few months ago, I still had a couple of non-Haywood brands from a wood side, but just until we got it. But probably about 6-8 months ago, I switched over everything. So have our prototype driver 3-wood hybrid in my bag. So one of our first versions actually. driving iron, and then I have a CBMB combo set, so 4 through 6 in the CBs, and then 7 through wedge in the MBs. Those are blacked out, so I got one of the rare sets that we decided to make in black, and I decided to steal those for myself. And then same
I
thing
think
with
you
the
get
wedges.
priority there.
Man,
Yeah.
that would be how hard is it, Josh? I don't mean to cut you off in the middle of your bag, but like something comes in the door, like how hard is it to just be like,
Let it go. Yeah.
I'm not gonna put this in my bag.
It sucks. It's insanely hard. Like I have a driving iron sitting here right now that I'm looking at that we just built because we found like a random Fuji shaft and an original copper head that was like part of our one of our first batches of just like demos. And so it's very different. So like we built it up because we're we'll throw it on the Instagram, and it's been sitting here for a couple days. I'm like, all I want to do is put it in my bag. It looks so cool.
On it. Yeah.
But it's also too one of those things is we have all these products here, and I'm fortunate enough to say like if I want to build a set for myself, I can.
Yeah.
But I'm also cognizant too, like this is it's a business for us, and so for me just building a bunch of stuff and throwing out means that we're throwing out money. So I've been very frugal in terms of my own club set. I've built out, I think I've only had 2 sets total in the last 4.5 years. I had the signatures for a couple of years, and then these lines when we first designed and created them, and that's it. So
nice.
Bryce, we gotta get one of those driving irons into your hands one day, man. Bryce would like. I think Bryce could probably carry that thing like 260. Bryce probably carries his 4-iron right now like 230 or something like that.
Nice.
Yeah, 230, 235.
Yeah.
So
the driving iron is, it's funny. I always tell people like the driving iron is one of the most unique clubs, but as soon as you learn how to hit it, like, your first couple of rounds, it's pretty difficult to get used to hitting a driving iron off of like the rough or sorry, out of the rough or off the fairway. But as soon as you learn how it interacts with your swing, it's like my go-to club. It's, anything from like 245 to 280, depending on the shot shape and everything. Like that's my range, and so I I love it.
Yeah, I have a TaylorMade gapper, which I love the look of the head. I know some people don't love it, but I'm a big fan of it. I just haven't had an X stiff shaft to put in it, so I don't hit it, and it's too whippy for me to strike it the way I want to strike a driving iron. The stiff shaft can't keep up with my swing speed, so I haven't got full potential out of it. But if I can get an X stiff shaft,
I need that problem. I need
bring
that
it
problem.
back.
But it's got kind of like it's sort of offset like that gapper, right, Josh? You know what
Yeah.
I'm talking about?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so the driving, I mean, there's not a ton of offset to it, and that was kind of the in between for us. So like when I can't remember, it was a TaylorMade driving iron that they had.
Maybe it is the opposite that I'm thinking. Yeah, because I've talked to a couple people who have it, and they've absolutely loved the thing. Like they've absolutely loved it.
It's got, I think it has I don't want to misspeak, but I think it has the same offset from my memory as our 7-iron and our signature series. So I think that's kind of how we designed it, because I remember seeing a Titleist driving iron had like no offset, and I was like, I don't think I would hit this. It looks super weird. And then I saw a couple of other driving irons that had way too much of it, and I'm like, okay, let's like split the difference and put ours into the middle. And to it the offset definitely with those, because it's a bigger club head, visually is difficult to wrap your head around. And so I think too, that's a big aspect of our driving iron that I love, is that it looks like our a 7-iron.
Yeah, I've been it's been hard. I've moved through a couple, but I've been hitting the same like Strixon. This is ZU 6.5 forever.
Yeah.
And it's like it's hard to like I try something else, like try to U500, hit that gapper a little bit. I could not hit that thing at all, but like just different ones, and I kind of go back to that so you get that feel. But it's one of those ones where a few people have mentioned that it's kind of like one of the elite clubs, I guess, or elite driving irons out there. So
I'm pretty disappointed I'm in the hybrid club now.
We gotta find it. Okay, where did I jump in there? Sorry, did we get to the wedges?
Yeah, no.
I just have black nitride wedges, and then I have one of our proto, we don't have a name for it yet, but mid mallet putter.
You have one of what those. Degrees are you going?
Sorry,
you have one of the mid mallet putters?
Yeah.
I like that. Okay, sorry, Bryce, go ahead.
What degree are your wedges? Are you just playing the standard 52, 56, 60, or?
I have 50, 54, 58 because I have all my CBMBs are all standard lofts, so 46
Raw?
pitching wedge.
Oh, you said black. You said black.
Black, yeah. And
Nice.
then they so 46-degree pitching wedge, so it transitions 4 degrees.
Yep.
So
Nice.
50, 54, 58. So
Nice.
yeah.
I have the 48-degree wedge too, and then I got 52, 56, 60. So it's pretty nice. So it's
Yeah,
it's a cool set.
it's a great way to have, you know, if you need 4 wedges, it's great to have. And you know, I played 52, 56, 60 my whole life, pretty much up until the last year. And then I got the new irons in, and I was like, I'm not gonna, you know, make them stronger or weaker just because. So like, let's, you know, put some new lofts in.
Well, and you're able to, right? And I know that was a big thing. Like when you guys released the like the 50, 54, 58, that was kind of a big a lot of people have made that change in their game, right? So it's
Yeah.
just a little bit more, maybe a little bit more control with the wedges, and 60's not utilized as much maybe as the days of like Phil and kind of those guys. It's hard to
Yeah.
it's hard to hit some of those, but yeah, I don't know.
Maybe for you, but
That's yeah.
I personally, I had a 64 degree that I bent to 60 to 64 for a little while, and honestly, it was like my favorite club. From like 40 yards in, it was all I used. Just opened it up and swung, and I'm a big fan of the flop shot because I suck at chipping. So
looks really cool though.
Dude.
Hey, and if you stick it close or you hold one of those, hey, it looks really cool, right? But yeah, we won't keep you forever, Josh. This was a lot of fun. We got to try and do this again because it was I don't know, it's really cool to go through it. And I check out the auction, so anybody that's still hanging on with us here, I'd suggest whenever you make the post to go check it out. It's kind of a cool option.
Yeah.
Even if you want to grab like a single wedge or like a driving iron, something like that, you can usually go on, hop on, grab a wedge for like, you know, 100, 125 bucks or something like that, and then find it somewhere in that range, and you can kind of give Haywood Golf a try because yeah, I think it's definitely worth a shot. And if you're a Canadian listening to the pod, about 75% of us are, so you know, we got a pretty good split, and then all Bryce's friends and family down there listening from Michigan. But yeah, so it's cool to kind of support a Canadian brand, and you guys are doing great things. Like I'm really interested to kind of seeing how the Woods did and the numbers too. So maybe as they kind of roll out and after you kind of get some of those into people's hands, maybe you got to hop back on with us, Josh, and give us an update.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's been fun. I always love chatting, and you know, great questions, and anytime I'm around.
Was, I don't typically pick favorites, but because we have great guests. All our guests are great, but the gear guests are always my favorites.
Always good for Bryce. So it's Haywood Golf over on Instagram. That one's really easy to find. Go over to give them a follow. You guys are kind of just approaching 15,000 right now, so it's good to see that you guys are
getting close.
Yeah,
everyone close. Go fall in love with those copper wedges that I showed earlier, please.
Yeah, and then there's a couple like photos too. You guys have like the new head covers up and stuff like that, which is really cool. Like they look really sweet.
Yeah.
And you know, one of the I think it's the hybrid that I'm looking at there too. So you've also got, is it them ferrules as well that you guys are involved with, that you use those on your clubs?
Yeah, so that's another company that we actually own, and so we, you know, kind of did it just out of necessity because there's really only one ferrule company in that supplies the majority of ferrules for aftermarket unique stuff. And so we decided that, you know, we wanted to add our own little color and flair to it. And Haley actually came up with the name and the branding. It's really kind of like her, you know, her baby in that sense. And we add it to a bunch of clubs. We have a lot of people who, you know, see it, order stuff up. So what you can do is you can actually go on the Haywood Golf website, place your order, and then go onto the Them Ferrule site and put your order number in there. And then we just put those ferrules on for you. So cool. It's a cool, you know, it's a cool dual business that we have with it, and it's a lot of fun. And you know, as it grows, we'll continue to release colors, and yeah, it's been fun.
It's cool. Everybody's like trying to, I don't know, add more. We were talking about it earlier a little bit, but personalization to their game, and that's a way to do it, right?
Yeah.
I can't even remember a friend of mine, one of the guys I work with, Craig. So I had mentioned to him about the signature irons, I think last year, or the year before, and he went and picked up a set of them, and he got like the white with the red and blue, I think it was, and he's a Habs fan, right? So I'm not sure why, but yeah, he was able to kind of get ferrules that like meant something for him, and then now you guys have so many more options, which is really cool too. So I'll drop a link. Anybody wants to go check out that page, give them a follow over on Instagram. Just scroll down below and go ahead and click it. Go over and check that out. But Josh, thanks so much, man. This was awesome. We had a lot of fun.
Yeah, me too. Really appreciate the time. And like I said, anytime you guys need somebody on, just let me know.
Yeah, it'll be kind of cool to get an update, I think, after they kind of get released and get into people's hands, and we'll see some of the feedback. And I know it's always good. We always have Mikey on from TXG every 4 or 5 months or so, just to kind of get an update on some of the gear that comes out. And I know that they've reviewed some of your clubs and have said really good things. So it'd be good to I guess kind of get, I'm sure they'll land in TXG's hands at some point, and hopefully we get a review and we can we can get them on and chat about them too. So
no, they're good. And cool, sounds great.
All right, let's do it again sometime. Thank you, Josh. Take care. All the best, man.
Cheers, man.
Is out in my ball in the course where I tee up. I lose the ball and I re-up. I miss a fairway, I probably end up in the ocean or maybe the beach. And I'm on a par 5 and I'm finna go reach it. Second was blind, I ain't see it. Feel like it might be an albatross. Worst case scenario.